welcome to the Giant pregame show presented by Sherwood Ford. Tyler, Caroline here with you. We're having some fun here at Nation HQ, and we figured why not come on here and give a Giant preseason recap show for you guys. So first of all, how pumped are you, Tyler, that we are literally one day away from the Edmonton Oilers starting their hockey season?
I am beyond jazzed, as I'm sure everyone watching a preseason stream is right now. We like to tell everyone that it's, we're here to break down the season. Really, we're testing out the new office to make sure that tomorrow's Giant pregame show goes smoothly. And if you missed the announcement, Caroline and I will be live every Oilers game day right here, however you're watching it, every game day, 1 o'clock. And figured 10 minutes here, we'll take some questions. So I'm watching the Facebook, you're watching Twitter. Hit us up, we'll just chat a little Oilers here because again, that preseason Kool-Aid was going down smooth and I'm excited for the season to start.
Okay, you say preseason Kool-Aid and I think of one name only on the Edmonton Oilers, and it's Brendan Perlini. So everyone's drinking that Kool-Aid. You'd have to live under a rock to not know that. On our Oilers Nation social media accounts, on any Oilers fan social media accounts, people are obsessed with this guy. Talk to me about his preseason. He led the team with 6 goals. Yep. He's doing his job. He's exciting. He's hot. He's the hottest meme out there. Give it to us, Tyler.
Lamborghini Perlini. I think there's a couple ways the conversation's kind of been going. One, it's people, yes, gushing over Perlini because of how dynamite he was in the preseason. But then the question gets brought up, is he just the second coming of Ty Ratty? Is he Anton Lander? Is he Jesse Joensuu, for people who remember Jesse Joensuu and the dynamite preseason he had 6 years ago? And I think the difference, specifically when you're making the Ratty comparison, is that Ratty did all that next to McDavid. He was banging in garbage goals next to 97 in the preseason. Perlini was doing it with Devin Shore and Kyle Turris. He's doing it with the guys that he'll actually be playing with in the regular season. And I mean, he has a history of NHL success. Ratty never really had that. And with Perlini, he's gotten to double-digit goals before. He's talked about how he ended up in Europe last year, and it wasn't even really that no NHL team wanted him. It's just more that the pandemic threw a massive wrench in his plans. So I think you see a guy like that who's clearly hungry to be back in the NHL, and it's super exciting to see him off to this start because there might be some more untapped potential there.
People are wondering, Tyler, where your hat is. No hat today?
No hat. I'm cranking up the professionalism a little bit.
I mean, when you guys, when you have a flow like Tyler's, why would we hide that? Look at this. This is a Pantene Pro V commercial right here.
This actually might be the first time most people watching Nation content have seen me without a hat. So this is a big day for me.
Okay, next thing I think of when I hear Oilers Kool-Aid, I think Bison King. Puljujarvi. Are we talking more about his preseason performance, or are we talking more about the fact that he has the ability to actually become the next Bison Whisperer of Alberta? Honestly, God, that picture blew my mind because he's standing there chilling with his dog. Him and his dog do not care that bison's right there. Neither does the bison. It's just one big happy family.
I think with Puljujarvi, one, on the ice, it's great to see him take these massive steps forward. For content creators, he's an endless meme machine. Like, it's unbelievable to see what this guy consistently puts out there for us. We had the pizza thing, we had the pool party thing, we always got the funny pictures of him smiling, and now we got the Bison King bit to go with it as well. But in all seriousness, you think back to 2 years ago where we were with this guy, and I was in the camp that was like, just trade him, get a second-round pick for him, let's move on, let's put this story to bed. Full credit to Ken Holland. Full credit to Jesse Puljujarvi himself as well, because now he's gone from afterthought to legit top 6 winger to an incredibly valuable part of this team's core going forward, where 2 years ago, no one really cared if he was or wasn't an Oiler anymore. And now you look at it, I can't imagine this top 6 without him. He's an integral part of this team. I'm really excited to see what he can do this year.
Something that pained me, but not as much anymore, guys, because I'm transitioning to the Oilers. I consider it not your team, our team, because now I'm committed to becoming an Oilers fan. Zach Hyman left Toronto, now playing for Edmonton, did a pretty solid job in preseason.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? If people are asking right now, will the Nuge, Hyman, and Yamamoto trio last? Are we going to see Hyman playing with Connor McDavid on a line, or is he going to stick with Yamamoto and Nuge?
Well, here's my take on that. I understand a bit of the frustration that, you brought in Hyman and now to start the year he might not be playing with Connor McDavid. But in my opinion, part of the reason why that Hyman move made a lot of sense is, you could pair him with 97 and that's great, but if he can be a driver of his own line, and if him and Nugent Hopkins find some chemistry, then all of a sudden Dave Tippett can go back to the luxury of playing McDavid and Draisaitl together, which I mean, in past years, we've all seen it however many times. Whenever they're down by a goal, it was right back to McDavid Draisaitl. And the issue was the other three forward lines had pretty much nothing. It was table scraps, right? And now if Hyman's there, and maybe you even throw Puljujarvi on the right side of this thing, if you can form an actual second line that consistently produces offense, and it doesn't involve McDavid or Draisaitl, okay, well now that first line, it's a handful for any team to handle. And then you've got this second line that can also chip in. The depth of the team with guys like Hyman and Foegele, the fact that the bottom nine could produce with McDavid and Draisaitl together, it's tempting. I understand why Tippett goes back to it as often as he does.
Here's my assumption. No matter what, Hyman will work. The Edmonton Oilers fans should be so excited because this guy will come out on the ice and actually give every last bit of his heart, and he'll leave it out on the ice. The one thing I will say, and this might be a hot take, is I know that Connor McDavid's the #1 player in the world, so people are like, any NHLer who plays with Connor is so lucky.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this is a hot take. I would say Connor right now, in a weird way, will be lucky to play with Hyman because that guy will work for him, and he will be able to increase point production for the Oilers and give a unique top-line dynamic that maybe the Oilers haven't seen in the past. And that's what I think Hyman, no matter who he plays with, will do well. It'll obviously help the Oilers, our Oilers, but I think Connor will really want to be playing with Hyman because of how much his game elevates and how much Hyman's game elevates. I think it'll be a really exciting thing to watch, and we'll see how it plays out.
I think back to 2017 when Patrick Maroon scored 27 goals, career year next to Connor McDavid, and then when that kind of fizzled out, Maroon was moved on. I always said they need to find Patrick Maroon 2.0 who can skate better and score better than Maroon did. And I think Hyman's that guy. He goes to the tough areas. He's tough on the forecheck. He skates better than Maroon did, and he's got better finishing touch than Maroon does as well. I want to see McDavid and Hyman together. I understand why Tippett goes away from it, but the one thing where I'll kind of agree with the majority of the fan base, I'd like to see Tippett at least try with McDavid and Draisaitl on separate lines off the bat because I think that chemistry with Hyman could be so good.
All right, Oilers fans, if you're watching, let us know what you think. Ask us questions. We're looking at the comments right now. Let's talk a little bit about Kailer Yamamoto because when I really started watching the Oilers religiously, Kailer Yamamoto is a player that stood out in my mind because this guy literally, just kind of like a Zach Hyman leaves his heart out on the ice, he's everywhere. There's a play, there's Yamamoto, and I think Bagged Milk wrote a really good article and said, and I think he had one word that described Kailer Yamamoto that I totally agreed with, and it was fearless. And I love that in a player. We know that he had a rough season last year. But what does he need to do in this upcoming season, which I think is a massive opportunity for him, to remind not only Dave Tippett, but all of Oilers management and all of Oilers Nation what he's capable of? Because we know he has a lot in the tank. This guy's talented.
Yeah, like I see in the Facebook chat, Alex Wolf was asking, how long till Yamamoto's pushed down onto the third line? And these are legitimate conversations that are happening right now. And he's fallen out of favor a bit. And a big part of that is because of how cold he was to end the season last year. And I think he's got pressure on him. Like I think a guy like Cassian has pressure on him. Mikko Koskinen's got pressure on him heading into the year. But Yamamoto especially, you're on that one-year deal. It's a bit of a show-me thing. And the Oilers have depth. His spot in the top six is not cemented by any means right now. And if he doesn't come out of the gates kind of guns a-blazing here and producing, because you say he works hard, he's fearless, he goes to the net. But if you're not scoring, you're not going to hold on to your feature top six role very long. So there's pressure on Yamamoto early here.
I love this question from Parker. What would you consider to be a good game for Cody Ceci? What kind of expectations should we have night in and night out? Now listen, Oilers fans, Tyson Barrie came out of Toronto in a very tough season for himself, came into Edmonton and absolutely proved himself. So I have the same kind of hopes for Cody Ceci, not even just saying this as someone who lived in Toronto. My whole heart was like, went to Tyson Barrie when he came here because I was like, I hope this guy shows out. It's a hard market to play in Toronto, and I hope he does it here for the Oilers, and he did. I have the same kind of hope for Cody Ceci, but he is coming off of a pretty tough run in Toronto, and I really hope that things change for him here in Edmonton. Who knows, maybe Edmonton Oilers is a good luck charm. You guys take the Leafs and they excel, so hopefully that happens for Ceci.
Of all the offseason moves, like Keith included, Ceci's the one I'm most nervous about. You gave this guy a ton of term, 4 years.
Yeah.
And he had success in Pittsburgh, but he had success in Pittsburgh in a really sheltered role. And I look at Edmonton's right side with Barrie and with Bouchard and Ceci kind of in between the two. I'm not sure if Edmonton can offer in that same sort of protected role that the Pittsburgh Penguins did that allowed them to have success. So I'm nervous. I'm not reading too much into the preseason though. Like the Ceci Keith pairing was getting carved for what they did in the preseason. And guys are still getting up to speed. I'll judge their performance tomorrow night, and I'll use that as sort of the first step in how I view CC as an Oiler.
Tyler lays down the hammer. Scary stuff. Okay, I love this question. It's from Kyle B. Will the Oilers go further than the Maple Leafs in the postseason this year?
Will the Oilers go?
Listen. If the Leafs, let's just say that the Leafs are going to, knock on wood, make the playoffs. We need that.
You're only knocking on wood for yourself. No one watching this really.
Yes. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I'm trying. I'm going to say the Leafs make the playoffs. I'm focusing on just making the first round of the playoffs and heading into the second.
The two teams are actually in a really similar spot where I think a lot of people consider both the Oilers and Leafs locks for the postseason. It's just getting over that first round. And, if Edmonton doesn't get out of the first round this year, jobs will be lost. There'll be prices to pay for that. And I think it'll be the same thing to a certain extent in Toronto. I know Keefe has a new deal there, so it might not be that. But they might be shaking up the core there. And if Edmonton doesn't get out of the first round, I think there's changes coming probably to the coaching staff. So both teams are in a similar spot where, if the regular season's great. You need to have a good start to the year. You need to make the playoffs. It's hard to make the playoffs in a now 32-team league. But if you don't win that playoff round, it's a failure of a season.
100%.
It doesn't matter how your regular season goes. Both teams are facing that.
I totally agree. And for me, and I'll say this for the Oilers as well, for the Leafs, if we don't have a postseason run that we are expected to have clean house. At that point, clean house, start fresh, and changes need to be made. I'm a very loyal individual, but if things aren't changing, let's go. Clean house.
If it's not working, and both teams are facing that, absolutely.
Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about goaltending, Tyler? Mikko Koskinen, Mike Smith, pretty good preseason. Again, I don't want to think too much into preseason because regular season is a whole different ballgame. For me, I want to say Mikko Koskinen is that guy that I really want to come into this next season and have the biggest and best comeback. My heart went out to him when we posted that one Instagram reel. So if anyone watching, if you missed this, please go to Oilers Nation or Nation Network Instagram page and please watch the video on Mikko Koskinen. He was just kind of pouring his heart out to everyone about the fact that hockey players and professional athletes are human as well. So there's, the aspect of probably COVID-19, not seeing your family, there's mental health related, and, Koskinen took accountability for his season last year and just said that sometimes there are those other pressures of life that a human being may feel that he felt not only as a hockey player but a human being. So I hope that Mikko Koskinen kind of channels all of that and comes out just blazing in this next season. Yeah,
I saw Clay was asking about him in the Facebook chat as well. And you mentioned the things personally and also hockey-wise. I mean, we know as Oilers fans that Koskinen, he succeeds when he is a good partner, right? He's not a guy who's going to give you 50-plus starts in a season. That's not the kind of goaltender he is. And last year, he had a super shortened training camp. He had to quarantine for 2 weeks coming into it because he was coming from Finland. And then there was no preseason. Then he had to start 12 of the first 13 games. Last year, Koskinen was essentially doomed from the beginning because of everything that played into that season. This year, it's a bit more normal. His family's here with him. He had a normal training camp. He didn't have to sit in a hotel room for 2 weeks when he got here. He got a preseason. His partner's back, and they're both healthy to start the season. There's a lot of reasons to think Mikko Koskinen can get back closer to the level we saw in 2019-2020, which is when he was a .917 save percentage goalie. He had numbers that were on par with what Jacob Markstrom had in that year, and Markstrom was regarded as the best goalie on the market the offseason that followed. So I don't think we're getting .920 Mikko Koskinen, but I think we're getting .910 plus this year, and that should offset the fact that I don't think Mike Smith's going to be .925 again this year. Awesome. My God, Tyler's brain. What's it like to have a brain like yours? I bet he has just one big hockey encyclopedia in there where you can probably name every game, every day, every date and time of the big moment, huh? No, I just know all of Mikko Koskinen's save percentages and that's it. So Mikko Koskinen's listening to you, that's a little creepy in my opinion. He's a low-key stalker, no? Valin Camus. Only a few people will get that joke as well. Okay, from Tootsie Rolls, cute Twitter handle, will Perlini's preseason scoring continue in the regular season? Because you know what? He's not scoring a goal a game in the regular season, though. But you know what? I see it from two ways. He's kind of on a run right now. He has the momentum on his side, but now that also gives him that additional pressure where everyone is drinking that Perlini Kool-Aid. Loki also wants to buy a Lamborghini to call it Perlini for those who can afford it. So he probably feels that anticipated pressure on him as regular season starts. I think so. I think so. Like the big
It's
step, and
human.
you could even see it when he was scoring in the preseason. He kind of had the expression of a guy who was happy to be here. Like it was all just gravy. It's almost like he was surprising himself when these pucks were going in, and it'll be interesting to see how he handles a little bit of adversity. And when the goals don't come, is he doing enough to stay in the lineup? Because he's not going to score 25 goals this year. And if he's going to be in the bottom 6 on a regular basis, he needs to do more than score goals.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things we'll be tracking all season.
Which defenseman are you most excited for? Evan Bouchard, I believe, had second most shots on goal this preseason.
Yeah.
A lot to talk about with Demon. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's Darnell Nurse, actually. We all saw the big step forward he took last year. I never thought he'd be capable of taking the step to be a legit number 1 defenseman. I kind of thought he was always going to be a 2, 3, or a 4.
Yeah.
He was a number 1 last year, and he got the money now. I know the contract doesn't kick in until next year, but he got the money to be a number 1. I'm excited to see, is there maybe another step forward? Does that lead to him cracking the Olympic team? Can he be that solid number 1 D-man again for the Oilers and follow up the career year he had? That's something I'll be watching really closely. I'm really excited to see Darnell Nurse again, because he's in the gym all the time. Him, Draisaitl, McDavid, those guys work their you-know-what's off all off-season. So a lot of people are just sort of penciling him in to have some regression because of the shooting percentage and things like that. I'm not so quick to say that.
Yeah, awesome. Anything else we want to talk about? We have about 2 minutes left that maybe we didn't cover. We're watching you guys in our mentions in the chat. Talk to us. Anything Oilers preseason? Maybe the fact that the Oilers finished preseason 6-1-1, and we're heading into a big Canucks game tomorrow. So how are they going to take that momentum, and had a pretty good preseason? Again, let's not read too much into it, but taking that momentum, I think that's important, the fact of momentum going into the Vancouver Canucks.
And tomorrow's going to be the first regular season game in a long time where Rogers Place will be full. So say whatever you want about that. But, I mean, for the players, I think that'll give them a huge emotional boost as well. I get that there were fans for the preseason, and the crowds were great in the preseason as well. But there'll be something different about that puck dropping on regular season hockey tomorrow night with what I would assume would be 18,000 people in the building.
I'm so excited. This is my first chance as a new Edmonton Oilers fan to watch a season and immerse myself in this culture. And it's also been 1 year since I've moved to Edmonton. I'm so excited. I'm so proud. I'm so happy. We're going to be doing this every single Oilers game day at 1 p.m. and we're going to have some fun. I'm sure as hockey season starts going, there's going to be some crazy storylines, as there always is. That's why we love doing what we do, and we're here to talk about it. So don't forget, 1 p.m., take some time out of your lunch, tell your boss that Oilers Nation said it was okay, and come hang with us and just talk to us, vent, ask questions, comments, concerns, anything you want. Tyler and I will be here to talk with you guys and enjoy recapping and previewing this entire season ahead of us.
It's going to be a good time. Talk to everybody tomorrow.
You gotta explode.
Oh, sorry.